So the next set of items, I want to talk about Excel for business. And it gives me an opportunity to talk about Coursera. Halt has made an arrangement with Coursera where we pay a fairly hefty fee to Coursera so that all professors and all students have access to the Coursera library, the entire catalog of their courses, whether they're business classes or not. The second item is that I've selected a course for accompanying this immersion to talk about Excel, to teach the basics. What I find is that most students have a wide range of experience with Excel. Some are very good at Excel, some are intermediate, some are beginners, and rarely, but not zero, people have no experience with Excel. So the best way to level set, if you will, the class in Excel is to utilize Coursera. We have the tool, let's use it, right? So I've selected a course on Excel that would be great for you to look at. I'll describe that further. And then a couple things on Excel hygiene. And these are just some of my pet peeves as I look at a lot of spreadsheets. And I've done a lot of spreadsheets, and I want to give you some tips to make your practice better so you don't fall into any bad habits. First, on Coursera. Professors can use Coursera for a bunch of things. They could first use it for course materials. They could use Coursera content instead of a textbook. They don't have to, but they can. We give professors discretion on how best to teach the course. Or they could use it as a supplement. So they could use certain sections or certain guest lectures inside Coursera or exercises or case studies in a Coursera. So they can use it as a supplement to perhaps what they've been doing all these years. Third, they can guide students that don't have the foundation knowledge or are uncomfortable with foundation knowledge, like Excel, so they could do it on their own. So students have to take the initiative to spend the time, but the Coursera courses gives professors a way to help students that may be struggling with some of the material. The other scenario is, let's say you're an expert in accounting, you're a CPA, and now you're taking a beginning CPA class. Well, in that case, the professor can point the student to more advanced material, like the rising use of fintech inside finance functions. There are courses in all types of things in Coursera. So if the student wants to, again, take a little initiative and go further into something related to the course topic, the professor may be able to suggest some new things or some deeper knowledge than the student currently has. Students can also use Coursera for their own purposes. It could be as suggested by professors, of course, but you can choose on your own. You could pick topics that are of your interest, like culture anthropology, or you could take some things that might help your career, like programming, technology, or data analytics. You're free to choose whatever you want. Now, in general, there's no charge. Where you will see charges is if there's actually a certificate that you get, or you take a certification test administered by an outside group, or you are real ambitious and you embark on another master's degree, in which case you'd have to pay the conferring organization a fee, right? But the courses themselves are free of charge, and that's a very powerful tool that you have, and you will have it only through the last day of classes in your Held experience. This is not something alumni get. It's only for our students. So here's the course that I've selected. Actually, several professors at Halt have selected this one after looking at a number of alternatives. And it's a course taught by Microsoft, and it's on Microsoft Excel. The first week, they call it weeks, that's how Coursera courses are organized. The first week has 1 hour and 4 minutes of videos, and it's pretty basic. So if you've had Excel in the past, you could look at what is covered in week one. My guess is you would know most of it. The other thing you do is you could take the quiz at the end of week one and see if you pass it, right? But my guess is most people with any experience with Excel could bypass week one. And those who have no experience in Excel, again, now you have a way within a little more than an hour to learn the basics of Excel. That's a pretty good investment. Week two is more likely to be useful to our students, and this is 54 minutes of video. We're looking at formulas, functions, sorting and filtering of data, looking at using ranges and name ranges, specialized functions. We just did a few specialized functions for finance purposes, text functions, logic functions that are just more advanced things that you could do, programming a bit inside of Excel. Week 3, which is a little bit over an hour, covers tables and large workbooks. And it would do things like pivot tables, for example, in this. And charts and graphs would be in week 3. And analyzing data with, maybe that's where the pivot table resides. But in this third week are some more advanced areas of analytics and the pretty important function, in my opinion, of doing charts and graphs. Depending on where you are, you can spend anywhere from, I guess that'd be 3.5 hours, let's say, or less, and get quite a good overall view of Excel. We tend to learn Excel as we need it, kind of learn as you go. But this is an organized way for you to make sure you learn the right way, if you will, from Microsoft on how to use Microsoft Excel. So here are some hygiene suggestions. I have many more than this, but from the outset, this is what I'd like to say. Excel will become a major tool for your work and collaboration for your entire career. And good Excel practices will make you be more efficient and more accurate because it's easy to make mistakes without knowing it. So a certain amount of practices and good practices will lead to lower amount of errors and a more efficient, from a time standpoint, spreadsheet. And it will enable you to share your spreadsheet with others with minimal explanation and risk. It's very difficult for somebody to take a customized Excel sheet and hand it to someone else and not have to spend a lot of time explaining it. But the better and more structured your Excel sheet is, in addition to having higher quality and lower risk of error, it's easier for you to hand off. And third is this will convey your care and professionalism to whoever looks at your work, right? Again, it may be your boss. So some of the suggestions that I call hygiene is, if you have certain variables that you know you're going to manipulate, isolate them in a certain section. Let's call them key assumptions, and then refer to it in formulas. And that makes it very clear, the structure of your model and also the levers that you want to push and pull inside that model. The second is never hard code an assumption. So if you want to grow sales by 5%, don't put 1.05 inside an Excel sheet. I did it. You saw me do it in one of the things I did with you just in this time value money exercise, but that's not good practice. You're better off isolating something like growth rate and then having a cell where you enter 5%. There you see it very vividly instead of having to dig through a cell. And you can change it from 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 to whatever and see the impact on your model as we do sensitivity tests on your model. So don't hard code numbers inside your spreadsheet, especially anything that you care to modify in the future. But in general, don't hard code anything if you can get away with it. It may take a little more time because you have to specify some variables and figures outside of that cell, but it pays off pretty handsomely in terms of, again, accuracy and efficiency. Third is keep your columns and rows very structured. You saw how I did the IRR NPV. Every column was a year, so that way I can shade that period, and Excel knows exactly that each one is a year. Well, that holds for general hygiene for your spreadsheet anyway. So just keep it highly structured. Makes things a lot easier when you copy and paste formulas because the logic will be uniform across your Excel sheet. 4 is make your sheet easier to understand by formatting with boxes or colors or labeling so that if you hand it off or do a printout, that the other party can understand what you did. Right? Just basic stuff. Don't go overkill on it, but a little bit goes a long way to have the material be more attractive and more organized and more easily understood. And last, graphics are usually an excellent way of highlighting your key findings. You might have a table of data you looked at and took 5 minutes to figure out, aha, I learned some things. Well, what if you could take that aha experience and find a way to graph what it was that got your attention? So graphics typically are the best way to convey a key finding to an audience. So in summary, the field of management accounting is a refinement of corporate financial systems. And when we go to managers, we want to provide them a level of detail that is not available, nor should it be, to external public users. The techniques of cost, value, and profit are very useful. We could use it for looking at break-even points, target profit, profit planning, and scenarios. And the time value money is a major set of tools that I use throughout finance and other parts of business. And we use it a lot in investment analysis. That's just one big use of it. And we covered the variations of cash flows, from single payments to annuities to uneven payments. We also practice some time value money functions inside of Excel so that you can then have at least some exposure to it now. So as you see it later, it'll be more familiar to you, and hopefully you'll be able to do it correctly. And Excel is or will become your primary data and analytical tool. So we introduced the Coursera course as a resource to you for all your purposes, learning purposes. And we also highlighted one that we suggest that you do before you complete your essentials. I suggest you do these not only for the learning for the immersion, but also for just your general facility with the tool as you go through your year with help. All right. So thank you and see you soon.